Hi, it's time for Mid-South Viewpoint. I'm Byron Tyler. Pleasure to have you here on today's edition. Jeremy Park is the president of Lipscomb Pitts Breakfast Club. He joins us right now. Hey, we're starting off a brand new year, and you're already juggling many plates right now, Jeremy.
Absolutely. So we were laughing off mic or crying, depending on how you look at it. But we host hundreds of events. 2014, we hosted 192 events, just for perspective. But it's hundreds of events. The beauty of it is, though, it's all totally free, all as a give back here for the Mid-South, as a way for people to get involved and to make a difference. Well,
there's a great opportunity for our listeners to jump in on a volunteer on January 26th. We're going to give a lot of details about that. It's for a wonderful organization called Samaritan's Feet, which I just learned about a couple of years ago. And the founder has just a really exciting and dramatic story of how this thing came to be. I know you've heard this story before.
Manny's become a great friend, Dr. Manny Ahome, and we brought him in as a guest speaker with the Lipscomb Pitts Breakfast Club many, many years ago. It's probably been 7 years ago. And at that event, we were so touched by his story. And I feel like I can share his story. I mean, my wife and I have become really good friends with his family, and we've traveled on some different adventures, like even Florida last year, serving and washing kids' feet and giving them new socks and shoes. So even outside of the Mid-South, we've become really good friends with Samaritan's Feet and their global outreach. But anyway, a part of his story is he grew up in Nigeria. He was dirt poor. He tells the story all the time of, he was that child on the Discovery Channel that carried the water basket on his head and went and got water and carried it back. And when he was walking, he saw this game of basketball being played. Now, he didn't know what it was. He just saw a ball, you kick it, that's what you do. It's like, no, it's basketball. So this mission worker was teaching the children how to play basketball, and the game was shooting free throws, and the winner would receive a new pair of shoes. And you have to understand, especially in a country, Nigeria, where he grew up,
and not just Nigeria, and really, that is a statistic that is staggering.
Right.
I mean, 3 million, I believe, children worldwide don't have shoes. Now, here, we in Memphis, Tennessee, we might not think about that too often because our kids pretty much, have shoes or some type of shoes on their wear. Maybe in the summertime they might go barefoot. But the conditions in many of these environments is quite hazardous to their health. So we're talking about, feet conditions that can sometimes kill a young child.
They are, I forgot what the numbers are, but I mean, you're right. It's not only in the millions, it's in the billions of adults and children that face footborne illnesses as a result of this. And by walking with bare feet, get cut, get infected. Next thing you know, you're having to have your feet amputated. So, I mean, you're pulling your kids out of school. There's a lot of ramifications for this, but you're right. I mean, it's a health hazard. And you take for shoes, here in the States, it's a fashion accessory. But I'll tell you, that's one of the most powerful things when you talk about the Samaritan's Feet shoe distributions here in Memphis, is we do them in January. We'll do a back-to-school drive as we get into the school season. But you take it for granted because you think, okay, here in our own backyard, our kids are taken care of, but they come in wearing flip-flops on a cold January day because that's all their family can afford. And so here it is.
And that's here in our city.
And that's right here in our own backyard. And that's where I think it really is powerful. So to finish his story, he wins the pair of shoes. He wins the game of basketball. He learns, how to play basketball. The missionary teaches him. He ends up on a full ride here to the States on a basketball scholarship, becomes a very successful IT professional, goes back over to Nigeria later in life to bury his father, who died of alcoholism but accepted Christ before he died. And he was blown away. He's like, wait a second, that was me as a child. He saw the need firsthand. I need to do something about this. So fast forward to where we are today, 6.5 million shoes provided around the world, hundreds of thousands of volunteers. Samaritan's Feet is the healing agent for the Hutus and Tutsis. They have to wash each other's feet. Imagine generations of fighting, and now you've got to wash each other's feet. But the whole power is shoes are the vehicle, but it's about hope. It's about providing hope and a bright future. And when you talk about the Samaritan's Feet shoe distributions here in Memphis, you're sitting down with these children across, face to face. You have this chaos with hundreds of people and hundreds of kids, but very intimate moments talking about their life, where they want to go, their future, their family, situations, and you have these relationships that build. And so
the morale boost, of receiving a brand new pair of shoes for some of the young people we're talking about could be just so over the top. You know what I'm saying? To give them that boost that they need to know that somebody really cares about them,
And, here we partner with the Memphis Grizzlies Charitable Foundation. Mike Conley is the ambassador this year. He has his whole program on his end where he's doing 2,000 kids throughout the year. So this is a part of his platform as well. And it's great because you have not just shoes. I mean, these are, branded shoes. These are very well-known shoes in terms of the brand. But the kids light up. They're coming in flip-flops. Next thing you know, they're walking out with brand new sneakers that all their kids are going to be jealous of, their friends. And so we add even more layers to it. So it's you wash their feet, you give them new socks and shoes, you play basketball with them, they open their gym, they have all sorts of the coaching staff out there playing games with the kids, they have the inflatables up, Grizz comes out, Super Grizz. So it really is a festival, and it's about showing kids that, you know what, in many cases, we as a society have given up on them, and yet we get to step back in and say, you know what? No, we love you. We care about you. You are our children. You're our future. And together we can make Memphis and the Mid-South great.
I want to underline that word you said, they're our children, our future, because that's who they are. And we all need to take responsibility as our community. You might live in Germantown, you might live, outside our area. We have a pretty good coverage here on Bot Radio Network on 640 AM. So you might be in one of their outlying areas, but, you do business in our city. You come to be entertained, to eat, you do things. So this is part of your life, and so investing back in our community makes a difference for everybody.
Absolutely. And I think it boils down to me, one of the most important pieces that we talk about money a lot. And money is a very important resource, but it doesn't physically solve a single problem. So a dollar bill doesn't walk, it doesn't talk, it doesn't shake anybody's hand, it doesn't interact. People do. People physically solve problems. If we want to see change, we've got to physically be involved. And I don't care where you live in America. I lived in Los Angeles, Dallas, worked in New York, Chicago, major cities, even outer liars in suburbia. And regardless, you can't be an ostrich and stick your head in the sand and say it's somebody else's problem.
Yeah.
The reality is it's all of our problem. Memphis has one of the largest under 18 populations in America. And that can be a great opportunity for us if we can solidify and rally and galvanize our city, then we have an amazing opportunity for our future.
Jeremy, this seems to coincide with several things, as you mentioned. Of course, the Grizzlies are involved with Samaritan's Feed, and Lipscomb Pitts is involved. There'll be hundreds of volunteers that will come out, but it's also part of what I understand is the NBA Fit Week the same time, which the NBA, the National Basketball Association for men and women, are encouraging, not only children, but their parents too, to get fit, to eat healthy, and to take care of themselves.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of tie-ins. You have MLK Day, which obviously was earlier on. We had to base it on schedule opportunities between the Grizzlies, the games, Mike Conley's schedule, our schedule. So there are a lot of factors in there to play, but it ties into MLK Day and National Day of Service. It ties into NBA Fit, and you're right. I mean, it's focused on community service. It's focused on giving back, but just as importantly, it's focused on health, nutrition, well-being, wellness, and that's not just eating right. It's the physical fitness, and it's also the spirituality. It's the mental health as well.
Yeah.
And so, making the proper choices and engaging not only the children but the parents as a part of that conversation is so important. So it's a family dynamic. It's not just, well, the child is eating healthy, but yet the mother or father doesn't understand the importance. It's all the above. So they're eating right, but they're walking as a family. They're talking and they're interacting and they're putting down their cell phones for a moment and doing things together as a family.
Lipscomb Pitts, 2005, they started this nonprofit, the Breakfast Club. And I mean, since then, you guys are like gangbusters, working with all these events and have been mobilizing some 50,000 volunteers, Jeremy. How do you do that in the staff that you have? I think there's only in your office that you work with, there's you and
there's three.
There's three
people.
Three people.
Right. It's community building, it's philanthropy, it's marketing. It's how do you get people to care, to become engaged, to make a difference. And I think that's the beauty of it is simplifying it. When you look at what we do, we make it easy. So, we focus on corporate philanthropy. We break down these big initiatives that take millions of dollars and millions of people or thousands of people to pull together. And we break it down into bite-sized pieces so that you only have to invest this amount of time and this amount of money, and together we can aggregate it and do great things. The events are totally free, and that's a big game changer. Is most groups charge to come out to anything, and our belief is that if we can't underwrite it all food, speakers, transportation, whatever it takes. If we can't underwrite the whole cost, then we're not going to do it. And that way we can look at somebody in grade school all the way up to retiree and everybody in between and say, you can get involved in this city and it's not going to cost you a dime.
Yeah.
And to me, that's really important is taking those barriers that could exist or do exist and knocking those down. And then a lot of it really comes down to collaboration and bringing together government, education, nonprofit business, the faith leaders. Many times that work in their silos, they're so working in their trenches, but to pull them out a little bit and say, let's sit around this table together. Let's figure out how we can move the needle together. Let's figure out what's important to everyone.
Right.
But how can we go there together and map that out?
On January 26th, where you need some 250 volunteers to love on kids for a couple of hours in the afternoon. And I was just looking at some of the opportunities that volunteers can do. They're needed in all kinds of capacities. There's the event setup. There's foot washing. When I say foot washing, I mean literally getting down and washing the foot of a child or feet of a child.
Right. And yes, I mean, the event starts around 2:30 there at FedEx Forum in the Grand Lobby. We've got the parking there in the Toyota parking garage. And once again, totally free. We've already worked with we've worked with the nonprofits to find the kids that were most in need. So we already have the kids selected. We already have the shoes purchased. Everything's done for you. So as a volunteer, you show up at 2:30. You help us set up. We basically split out the shoes in different sizes, make sure they match up with the names. Organize the washing basins and the chairs and all that good stuff, and we'll have snacks in those areas. So helping with the setup there. But then once the event starts, the kids will come in at different bus waves, so different times. That way it's not all the kids at once, as it is a steady stream. But we'll need people to help with registration tables. So when they check in, making sure that the names and the shoe sizes and everything is there. We'll need people that are kind of runners to basically take the kids to the washing stations where the adults will be seated across from them. And then you'll have people that once they take the child to that seat, they'll go get the pair of shoes. You've got people that are manning the shoe station. You've got people managing the wash stations. You've got people manning when the water, after you've washed enough feet, like it gets a little dirty, so you got to change out the water. Then you have the snack station. You have the fit station inside the gym, the practice gym. So there is plenty of opportunities for people to get involved. Some love washing the feet because you get the interaction. Some say, no, we've got gloves. You can wear. So it's all totally safe and amazing. That's one of my favorite parts personally. But there's plenty to do.
And I wanted to ask you that from that aspect, because you have personally been involved. You've engaged this event in the past. I think this is, the third year, I believe? Or
it's actually the 5th or 6th year. Time flies.
Is it really?
It's been,
it really
we've done
has gone by.
So many of these. And so, thousands and thousands of kids have been blessed. And,
wow.
And like I said, it's not just here. We've done these now in Florida and different places all around the nation. And it's so fun to travel with Manny and be a part of just Samaritan's Feet in general. But this really is something that churches can do.
Well, for you personally, Jeremy, what stands out to you when you have actually just gotten down and washing the foot of a child? What are some of your impressions? What are some takeaways that you've had that's really, changed your life as a result?
I've seen personally some pretty amazing moments. On my end, I'll share a couple. So one is just for me personally, I think it's a huge sign, because when you have a child that especially is in an area of poverty, to have someone who humbles themselves as an adult, and many times the people coming out, they're in their military fatigues, the naval base comes down, they're coming in on a Friday or Tuesday. In this case, it's a Tuesday afternoon, so they'll be wearing suits. So imagine someone in a suit rolling up their sleeves and washing your feet, and you're tickling their feet, and you're just talking about where they go to school, what their family's like, what sports they love to play, what home life is like. Do they, what do they enjoy doing? And you start seeing this smile build up. And there's been so many of these kids that, you play with them for this moment, and next thing you know, you're getting to know their family, and you're calling, you're saying, hey, let's go to a Grizzlies game together. Let's go do this together. And they become friends. And so that's where I think on my end, it's not about just the one time washing their feet. This truly is about humbling yourself and saying, you know what, I love you, I care about you. I may not know your name at first in terms of you walking through the door. By the time you leave, I know your name, I know your heart, I know your family, and I want to be a part of that magic from here on forward.
So what you're saying really, Jeremy, in essence, is that this is the open door to invest ongoing.
Absolutely.
Not a one-time event.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a single person that's come out that hasn't made a true friendship And out of the course of, a couple of hours, if you stay the course and you're washing the kids' feet throughout the whole time, many rotate out, you'll probably interact with 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 kids. And I guarantee one of them will light up your world. Quick example, when we were down in Florida, this is just one that comes to mind because it was more current, but we were there. One of the girls that we were washing the feet of was deaf. And her mom, it was an immigrant camp that was nearby. The mom had pulled her out of school because she couldn't really communicate very well, didn't speak English, but was deaf. And so she basically just stood in front of a TV all day long for 24 hours watching TV. And that same day, the daughter's in tears. Well, all of a sudden, separately, another parent comes in who's deaf. And we realize, wait a second, they both speak sign language. Let's connect them. Well, come to find out, there's a whole group of deaf individuals, adults and children, that get together on a regular basis, and the next meeting was that next week. And the two of them hit it off, and the young girl was just in tears because she thought she was forgotten, was going to be, just totally by herself for the rest of her life. And yet come to find out there's a whole community that supports each other, and it's meeting that very next week.
Wow, what a story. You go back and mention Manny, what a wonderful guy. I really appreciate the opportunity I had to meet him, to interview him when he was here a couple of years ago. And even at that time when he was here, such a humble guy. I mean, he spent probably 2 hours talking to about 20 or so Teen Challenge young men who were in the program, to get off their lifestyle of addiction. And he was just heart to heart. I mean, he just shared his heart and what, the transformation taking place in his life. And he was so humble and gracious about it. There weren't cameras around to film Manny doing that. That's the kind of guy he is. He
comes back to Memphis quite a bit. We've got a great relationship with him. He's like a brother to me. But he does. I mean, every time he comes, he makes very valuable use of his time. Like, he goes nonstop. And last time he was out here, he spoke to church groups, schools, students. I mean, to your point, like, he just wants people to realize there's so much more to life. It's about giving. It's about hope.
Yeah.
And something as simple as a pair of shoes can literally make a huge difference. And I think the other thing that's really interesting, back to your point about the fact that foodborne illness is such a huge problem worldwide. The next chapter in his book is he's literally manufacturing shoes that have an antimicrobial ability to basically, because in those countries you don't really wear socks, so it's like a Croc, but it has a healing agent in the shoe. Wow. So as these kids and these adults are walking, they're actually healing their feet as well. There's medicine in the shoes. And that's something that, to me, it's amazing to see. He's gone from taking shoes as a donation to give to others to now manufacturing his own shoes that literally is going to have a healing agent.
Well, Jeremy, again, giving back. I mean, that is what we're talking about, as Manny has done countless times all over the world, really, because Samaritan's Feet is not only something that's conducted here in the United States, I mean, all over the world. As a matter of fact, those listening, church groups right now, if you have a plans to go, say, to Kenya as a church group or somewhere in South America, I believe if you will contact Samaritan's Feet before you go, they, I believe, either will drop ship or help you get shoes to the location that you're going. That way your group can actually pass out shoes to, individuals from the countries you might attend. So I would encourage you to go to their website. I believe it's just SamaritansFeet.org.
Correct.
Don't get it confused with Samaritan's Purse. Now, they're doing a great job, too, with Franklin Graham. This is a whole different organization. Some of our friends, Jeremy, might remember, I guess, when the beginning stages of Samaritan's Feet was getting launched and Manny was just trying to get some promotion done, it was a college basketball coach,
Coach Ron Hunter,
on national television. Tell that story.
So Coach Ron Hunter, they've become good friends, and actually, I know this story very well because the two of them came in and spoke at a breakfast recently as well. So, Coach Ron Hunter, Manny had reached out to him and said, "Hey, would you consider coaching a game barefoot to help raise awareness?" And Coach Hunter at the time was like, "Well, I'll introduce you to, Mike Krzyzewski at Duke, or I'll introduce you to so-and-so." And Manny's like, "No, I want you." And so he told Coach Hunter all of his friends, and he's like, "Do you think I'm crazy for doing this?" And everybody's like, don't do it. And he asked his mom, and his mom said, "If you're asking me, you already know the answer." And so Coach Hunter did. And the beauty of that is within 24 hours of him saying, I'm going to coach this game barefoot, he had raised enough money to do 100,000 shoes. And since then, he's done millions. I mean, he's become really the ambassador for Samaritan's Feet, and he's gotten many, many coaches, not only in the NCAA, but in the NBA to do it as well. And actually now, when you look at it, you have NFL players that take off their shoes at the end of the game and give them as a part of the symbol for Samaritan's Feet. So it's not only in basketball, but now it's transcended to other sports like football as well.
And it's caught on, too, with other, organizations and businesses that manufacture shoes. I was thinking about, of course, Nike and Skechers, and there's others, in that category that see the efforts of Manny and Samaritan's Feet and have, donated quite a few shoes. There's been stories. Manny's got, a call, and he's got, to find room for warehouses full of shoes so that he can give them away.
Right. And so he's got a huge logistics center in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it is. I mean, it's millions of shoes because, to your point, Skechers and a lot of these will say, hey, we've got these shoes. Can you help us? And actually, back to your point about the mission work, he works in about 75 different countries. And they have mission trips scheduled where you can easily jump on with them. And those are amazing mission trips that are planned out with a lot of different opportunities engaged, even entrepreneurial incubators that they're creating in those cities as well. Or to your point, you can say, hey, can you help us in terms of getting the shoes there and creating these own opportunities with yourself? So they've got so many ways, whether it's in your own backyard here with the States. And I'm a big believer in, we call it a community calling card, but CCC. The initials. So community calling card. Every business has to have one. So that's kind of like your business card is, how do people know you in the community? But something that you do for free as a give back, as a way to engage the public to make a difference, right? And it really has become our community calling card with the Lipscomb Pitts Breakfast Club and Lipscomb Pitts Insurance. Not only does our team absolutely love to participate and do it, but also, too, the public loves to come out and be a part of it. And so what's funny now is many people think that I work for Samaritan's Feet, or, it's like, no, I'm Lipscomb Pitts Breakfast Club, but, Samaritan's Feet is our partner and Manny's our good friend. And this is the thing that we do is our give back to engage so that people can come out and make a difference, but see the impact firsthand. And that's where we encourage companies across the USA to adopt Samaritan's Feet, make it your community calling card, make it an opportunity for you to literally not only wash the kids' feet, give them new socks and shoes, but build that relationship for the future of your own city.
Jeremy, what are the key ingredients that Lipscomb Pitts looks at when they're looking at, organizations or events to sponsor, or, events like, Samaritan's Feet to partner with? What are some of the essentials that you guys look for when you look for those relationships? So
we've got two different sides. You have Lipscomb Pitts Insurance, which I love the fact that, on our end, there's 80 partners, corporate partners that underwrite the cost of everything we do so that we can do it for free. So you've got the FedExes and AutoZones and Smith & Nephews and ServiceMaster. You've got these very large companies, but you also have very small like Napa Cafe. So it's small, medium, and large, but it's not, even though FedEx is a partner in this, it's not FedEx doing it all. It's a mid-sized company with 130 employees that took a chance and said, you know what, we believe enough in this city to launch an organization like this, to take a chance, to do it for all the right reasons, to hire some crazy guy from LA who's not even from here, but has big dreams to make a difference and put him in place to do this stuff. But that's a big leap of faith. And to me, I think, you've got the Lipscomb Pitts Insurance side, which we sponsor things corporately. We do the typical donations and contributions. On the Lipscomb Pitts Breakfast Club side, we're genuinely here to help anyone and everyone. And so we do that in so many different ways. But that's where on our end, with all the nonprofits, we try to figure out what makes the most sense. What's going to make the biggest difference? Outside of just a typical cash contribution, how can we put them in line with all these media opportunities, like coming on this sort of show? How can you get them out on TV, radio, print, all these different areas to build an audience? How can we help them like a consultant almost and help them tell their story and better craft their story? How can we help them with videography? So many times it's not just about how can we sponsor or contribute. It really is how can we physically become partners on this adventure to make a difference. And I think so much of it revolves around, we all want to do a lot with a little time. How can we make the best use of time and what we're good at to be able to partner with them so that truly everybody wins.
Yeah, everybody wins too. If you take time to volunteer for our efforts here on January 26th, just a few hours of our listeners' time, dear friend, why don't you go to that website, which you guys have a wonderful website, not only the event we're talking about on the 26th for the Samaritan's Feet, give out the shoes, but throughout the year, I mean, all kinds of things are happening. Just having the breakfast that you have or other type of venues, all the information is right there on the website.
Right. So the website is LPBC.com. So it's our initials. So we're known as the LPBC, but Lipscomb Pitts Breakfast Club. So it's the initials, LPBC.com. And you're right. I mean, you can go there. You can find all of our archives. You can find all of our media, all of our events coming up. We've got some great events this year. We've got the face of Google coming in later. So he gets to talk about all the amazing technology and Google and everything. Everybody knows Google, but he'll be a really fun one in February. You have Javier Pena, who was the kind of the focus of a documentary called For Once in My Life. He's coming up a little bit later this month in January on the 21st and 22nd. You have the Samaritan's Feet on the 26th. There's so many things that, once again, all totally free, but these are great opportunities to be enriched, to build relationships, to make a difference. So to me, it's fun getting people out, getting them engaged, and realizing that, the sky's the limit.
Well, Jeremy, going back to something that, you said, or we talked about throughout this whole interview here, and that's the fact that we see so many negative things that, we'll get national news about our city. We watch the 6 o'clock news. We hear these, horrible, tragic stories of young children, being hit by stray bullets. And here is an opportunity to learn about positive things that are happening in the city. So hopefully these stray bullets won't happen in the future. We can maybe limit them because we're giving back into the communities that need it most.
People ask all the time, what's the single most important issue? And there's so many of them, but education is, to me, so critical, because when kids start seeing hope in a future for themselves and their families, a lot of good things start to happen, right? But it starts with love and caring. And when you get people to go into the schools, to roll up their sleeves, to go to community centers and play basketball with the kids, to share a little bit of their heart and their time, to come out to a Samaritan's Feet event, to wash the kids' feet, to play basketball with them, to give them snacks, to color with them, whatever it is, that's where the relationship starts, but also too where you start seeing a difference, because the kids, you can't be what you can't see. If the kids start seeing there's hope, there's future, I can be like that guy, I can be like that lady, that woman who's a successful mother, who's caring for her kids, but carries herself, they can identify and they've got a role model. That's where our city takes on a whole new opportunity.
Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for taking time with Bott Radio this afternoon. Again, friends, don't forget, it's the Memphis Grizzlies shoe distribution with Samaritan's Feet. It's all being organized by the good folks at Lipscomb Pitts, the Breakfast Club. Jeremy Park here, the president. Jeremy, again, thank you for all of what you guys do to help inform us. Hey, this is an open opportunity for you to come back on my show and to share for other future ways that our listeners can mobilize and engage and do something great for our community.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you for all you do to share the positives as well. We appreciate it.
Well, friends, that's all the time we have on this edition of Mid-South Viewpoint. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Byron Tyler. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.